And away we go. Alright, let's see what me, Eric, or Risk have sent in the group chat to see whatever is popping about in our feeds these days. Which, for some reason, we can't take our eyes off it, and we may need to prepare ourselves for when the worst is yet to happen. Well, if that comes about, that is, when we least expect it. Which, thankfully, that is not the case for this episode. There hasn't been anything new that's been sent in our podcast group chat since the last time I recorded a podcast episode. We get to live another day. Yay! So, with that all being said, let's get right into the news. India's Goyal to visit Canada with 150 business leaders to boost trade. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal will visit Canada from May 25th to 27th, leading a delegation of nearly 150 industry leaders to strengthen bilateral economic and trade ties. Diplomatic tensions previously slowed bilateral trade talks, prompting both nations to revive economic engagement while working to finalize a comprehensive economic partnership agreement, CEPA, by the end of 2026. Canadian companies have invested nearly $100 billion in India, and Minister Goyal will meet representatives of the Maple 8 pension funds, which manage about 2.4 trillion Canadian dollars. The minister will hold meetings in Ottawa and Toronto with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and his counterpart, Maninder Sidhu, focusing on collaboration in technology, clean energy, and critical minerals. Both nations aim to increase bilateral trade to $50 billion over the next 5 years. While Goyal stated India is looking to increase Canadian companies operating there from 600 to 1,000. Now, on the surface level, sounds pretty beneficial, not just to India, but also Canada as well, where the business ties between the two nations are strengthening, and more business to be done within Canada. At what cost, though? And I'm not going to point to mass migration as being the reason why Canada is down in the dumps. No, I'm not going to go down that route. Even if that is true, I'm not. I think that discussion's already talked about more than enough as it is. The reason why there is a price to pay with Canadian and Indian business ties comes down to reliance on other countries to produce and expand one's nation's economy. Again, that's not to say that you shouldn't collaborate with other countries to get business done and improve on your respective economies. How much business does Canada have to offer to India? Likewise, how much business India has to offer to Canada? I know India, as big of a country it is, there's so much opportunities business-wise that India could provide to Canada. My question is, how much Canadian business in the country would benefit the Indian economy? Once again, it's great to see countries are negotiating and strengthening ties, both business and diplomatic-wise. As beneficial of doing business between nations it is, you shouldn't be too reliant on multiple nations, if not one, to help expand your nation's economy. Your country has something else that they would have to offer to other countries as well. Likewise, other countries have something to offer to yours. Now, it may not be may not be an issue or a major issue for a lot of people, and not to say this will ever happen. What if at one point business leaders from India, China, or whatever country is communicating with Canada decides to pull out because there is some kind of risk factor that foreign business leaders don't want to get themselves into. They don't want to take the risk of whatever factors that would compromise on the stability, any gains, or whatever benefits that the country which they're doing business in, they were relying on to begin with. That's just me. I'm always thinking so much, although all over the place. So that's all I have to say on that. That's not to take away the great progress between Canada and India with what they're doing. It's great to see that countries are collaborating. The one thing I point out is how reliant would Canada be on India to complete business negotiations in whatever sector that's being discussed. I assume there will be something for India to offer to Canada. Norway set drama about political polarization. Fjord wins Palme d'Or at Cannes. Christian Mungiu won the Palme d'Or at the 79th Cannes Film Festival for Fjord, his Norway set drama about political polarization. Fjord follows Romanian evangelicals in Norway, played by Sebastian Stan and Renat Renzier, whose children are taken by child services after the parents spank them. Mungiu described the film as a critique of left-wing fundamentalism and said it promotes empathy, inclusion, and opposition to social division and radicalization. Now, I was this close, so close to say, what is this? What the heck is going on? However, I believe there has to be discussions about this. Not that there has to be. There's going to come to a point where elements of cultural differences and execution of how we deal with situations, they're going to be talked about. This story about Fjord, the movie that won Palme d'Or at Cannes Film Festival, is no different. So, here's something that, in my opinion, doesn't add up. So, Kristin Mungiu, the director for the Norwegian drama Fjord, he described the film as a critique of left-wing fundamentalism, which promotes empathy, inclusion, opposition to social division and radicalization. Now, I'm not going to point fingers of anything left-wing or right-wing, and I'm not saying that one side or the other side isn't the kind of side that would promote empathy, inclusion, or nor would they aren't against division of social differences. If there is going to be discussions about saying that this is the critique of one perspective or opinions that groups of people have, then I don't think people should be surprised, if at all, if there's going to be people that are on the left that will say, "Hey, that we're nothing like that. This is an attack on our ideals and our way of life and whatnot." That's what I think is likely to go down if that hasn't happened already. And I will look. Christian Mungiu is entitled to his opinions, as well as has much of a right to talk about the message behind his Norway set drama and the elements of the show that he's produced. Unless we have information or inside analysis about what the director says about their own work, which is being said here in this exact story, then who is anyone to say that this movie is about that thing or this person or these groups of people? Yeah, it kind of reminds me of when people were talking about the Barbie movie when it came out in theaters. Boy, what a time it was to be alive. So yeah, uh, I'm not sure if the same was said about the Super Mario movie. Even that was the case, not as much as the Barbie movie. So, back to the story about the Norway set drama, Fjord, winning Palme d'Or at Cannes Film Festival. Congratulations, Christian, for winning the award at the Cannes Film Festival. Not sure how often these awards are given out or the stakes they're at to even win such an award at the film festival in Cannes. Nonetheless, congratulations to the director of Fjord. Hopefully, the film goes on to do great successes somewhere around the world. And even in movie theatres, if there is a set date for when it comes out in theatres. I'd assume that's how it works. You finish producing the film, and then it goes off on a circuit across multiple film festivals, and then eventually they get released in movie theaters. Well, if that's still the case today, given the amount of streaming services that exist and how a majority of people today would rather stay in and watch a movie on a streaming service than to go out to a movie theater to watch the movie that they want to watch. That's how life is starting to change right in front of our eyes. Axios says proposed US-Iran deal involved opening strait during 60-day ceasefire extension. Mediators are nearing a deal to extend the US-Iran ceasefire by 60 days and establish a framework for nuclear talks, the Financial Times reported Saturday. Pakistani and Qatari negotiators, in contact with US envoy Steve Witkoff, brokered the draft following the conflict that began when the US and Israel attacked Iran on February 28th. President Donald Trump demands Tehran hand over about 440 kilograms of enriched uranium, while Iranian officials claim such conditions are, quote, unreasonable and, quote, excessive. And yeah, that's it. Trump cancelled a personal trip to remain at the White House to review the draft agreement, expecting to decide by Sunday whether to proceed. Tehran is finalizing a memorandum of understanding to end the war as a first phase, aiming to move toward broader negotiations within 30 to 60 days. Now, firstly, just the war in general. Just put the fries in the bag, bro. This has been going on for far too long. It has to stop. Seriously. At this point, I don't give a damn about what the element is, what's the reason to go into war in the first place, and whatever ideals that needs to be met. Just stop. Please. And for any Iranians who have lost their lives in all this, which I do send my condolences to their friends and family, when will that end? Anyway, that's my rant about just war in general. It's just, even if there's money being made, which there is, it should not cost lives of people. It shouldn't. Nor should it ever. So, in regards to the story about Axios proposing US-Iran deal, 60-day ceasefire extension in the Strait of Hormuz, only time will tell, in the words of Risk 11. Again, at some point, I think people from all the countries involved, they would, at some point, if not now, they would want the conflict that's going on now to stop. Like I would say, also. Events happen regardless of public consensus, outcry, and even if there's proof that there are genuine concerns going on right now, to people that's higher up on the hierarchy that is the world today, that isn't enough for them. They don't give a damn. They should give a damn, but they don't. And that's just sad. Meta launches Forum, a new Reddit-like app for Facebook groups. Oh boy. Here we go again. Meta has quietly launched Forum, a new standalone iOS app for Facebook groups. First spotted by social media consultant Matt Navarra in the App Store on Friday, CEO Mark Zuckerberg aims to roll out many more apps following AI-driven efficiencies, having discussed building up to 50 new apps with Chief Product Officer Chris Cox. Forum offers a dedicated space built for deeper discussions, featuring an AI-powered Ask tab that pulls community responses and an admin assistant to help moderators manage groups. Although Meta has not officially announced the application, a spokesperson confirmed the company is currently testing the product among iPhone users in select regions. Positioning itself as a Reddit-like alternative, Forum aims to provide real answers, quote-unquote, from real people, quote-unquote, across Facebook groups, leveraging existing community knowledge over AI-generated content. Yeah, you say you're leveraging community knowledge over AI-generated content, yet artificial intelligence plays a role in how you use an app and the user experience on said app. And even if there isn't artificial intelligence in the content that's being generated, there is still artificial intelligence in the app's interface and with the user experience at hand. Given the outrage amongst people just trying to look for a job, I know that they won't be happy by such announcements like this. I've seen many posts on social media where this is I presume, a professor of various universities, one by one, talking about how AI is on the rise and it's going to take everyone's jobs. And then the graduates that's going to graduate, they all start booing the speaker for saying that AI is going to take over the world and take over your jobs. And yeah, I don't blame them. I don't blame the students, the graduates in the slightest. This is absolutely understandable. So back to the story about Forum, the new Reddit-esque app by Meta. One suggestion I would make is, if you want to engage deeper discussions and community knowledge, why not? Where do I begin with this? Now, when it comes to the Forum app by Meta, of course, they say they want to encourage deeper community knowledge and deeper engagement within these groups. If Meta really wants to take that path with Forum, they got to figure out what are the habits of the users using the Facebook groups. Now, I'm not going to say get their data. No, you don't need data. You just got to ask the users, what do they do? What do they want to do? You know, create a couple polls and then use the answers from simple questions like what's your favorite animal? What do you like doing during the weekends? Just ask very simple questions in organized polls, and then use the answers from said polls to get an understanding, well, a broad understanding of what users think and how, from this very simple answers alone, maybe put the puzzle pieces together to see how the opinions and perspectives of users differ from one another, And how can you bridge the opinions and ideas of said users together where they can still communicate in a unified topic of their interest, yet at the same time allow users of different pathways, different walks of life, a diversity of different perspectives, groups of people, and so on, that people are going to be different from one another in whatever way, to come together, not just to express their own interests of whatever topic they like discussing, also to provide a safe space for these users and people online in a world where there isn't many places to go, where technology is on the rise, small businesses are on the brink of shutting down because there aren't many people going out anymore. At least create a space where users can come together, share whatever interests they like, even if they're from completely different parts of the world, and have completely different perspectives of how they view the world. That is exactly the idea of what me and Shadowminer are working on for reviving the relaunched Byte app. I'm not saying this is a promotion for the relaunched Byte app. This miniature project for the long-term roadmap with me, Shadowminer, and Eric. I believe this is something that every app should head towards. Social media platforms should not be thinking about keeping users on the platforms as long as possible. They should be thinking about how can they provide a space for users to discuss whatever interests them and connect with people from around the world, regardless of how different people are from one another, where they can safely and easily engage with one another. To make whatever big world we live in to be, maybe maybe the world isn't so scary after all. There are good people in this world. There's someone that does think normally. And there is someone that is not like this kind of person that thinks that the sky is orange and the grass is purple and the river is green. None of that. Certainly not the latter. So, yeah, that is all that is to be said. So, let's see what happens next with the forum app by Meta. I think it will go down the same path as Threads when they first launch. At first, not many people would think, what's the big idea with Threads? It's not going to take off. That's not the point. It's not about taking off. It's about building a steady user base for said app, which Threads has managed to do in the years after they've launched. It wasn't all that spectacular or glitter and glamour at first, yet at some points, more and more people use Threads. Not just in the way that they designed the app, but also giving people on other Meta built apps access to using Threads if they're on Facebook or Instagram, which is actually kind of clever. Yeah. Show posts from another completely different app by the same company, and if you want to view different content from another platform, from a different platform you're currently on right now, if that makes any sense, you have to go directly to the other app by said same company to view the content. And that's what Meta is doing very well. Linking the users to other platforms that they have out of the interest of those users wanting to view said content. If Meta does that with Forum, likewise they did with Threads years ago, then I believe, no matter the skepticism, the doubts by people that don't like Meta in the slightest, Forum will do quite well. They will keep a steady user base in the long term. and into the future as well. Jack Antonoff hilariously dodges question about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce wedding details. On Friday, musician Jack Antonoff appeared on Today with his band, Bleachers, to perform Dirty Wedding Dress, during which co-anchor Craig Melvin pressed him for details about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's upcoming wedding. After Page Six revealed Save the Dates last month, Swift and Kelce adopted extreme measures to prevent further leaks, reportedly inviting friends and family personally over the phone instead. When Melvin pressed for details, Antonov deflected by joking about his own marriage to actress Margaret Qualley, saying, "Yeah, I love being married, man." Kansas City Chiefs coach Andy Reid confirmed his attendance last week, quipping, "If I don't outgrow my tuxedo before then, I'm going." While Prince William also addressed invitation rumors. Swift and Kelce announced their engagement in August 2025, after 2 years of dating, and the couple continues managing intense public interest as details remain undercooked. So, looks like the Swifties are going to go crazy over this story. Well, if there are any Swifties left. I'm sure there will be. Yet somehow, there's people I know that used to support Taylor Swift are like, nah, I don't support her anymore. Now, I'm not sure if it has to do with sitting on the fence on certain issues, or because of the wealth she's accumulated, or maybe something about her private jets. We can't be too sure, and if we are sure about something, well, that's as much information we'll get from that. I just know for sure that whilst the Swifties are very strong, year after year, there's somehow a sufficient number of former Swifties that are backing away from the fandom. Not because of the reputation of the Swifties in general. Some will say it will point to Swift herself, from at least what I know. These are only speculations. Who knows if there's any truth to it, or if it's some misunderstanding. Only time will tell what happens next for the wedding between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I'm sure that the wedding will be splendid. Everyone is going to be so excited and very happy for the two. And I am too. And hopefully that Taylor and Travis have a happy life together for who knows how many years they shall live for. And yeah, good for them. And that is it for the episode.